People thought that Darkness had ended. We heard it had ended anyways, but it's back with Zeboyd Games making the development, and we're here with the entirety of Zeboyd Games. And about on the Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness 3. Could you please tell me your name and what you do for Zeboyd Games?
I'm Robert Boyd. I'm the designer, programmer, and writer of Zeboyd Games.
I'm Bill Sternberg. I do the art, animation, and maps for Zeboyd.
All right. Now, in PAX East 2010, we heard that the Precipice of Darkness was not getting another chapter ever or whatnot, but it's clearly not the case anymore unless this is just all a fallacy. How did this collaboration come about?
What happened is that, the series got canceled, and then it
was officially dead. They hadn't, they didn't think at the time that it was coming back, except in written form. Sorry to interrupt, but it was not a thing where, let's put it on hold for a little bit. It was, at the time they didn't think that it was going to be resurrected, sort of thing. Sorry.
Yeah, and then on the Penny-Arcade forum, someone made a comment of, "Oh, why don't you give it to this one indie developer?" And they mentioned our name, so I posted on the thread and said, "Sure, we'd love to do it, but I'm sure Penny-Arcade's not interested." And then a few weeks after that, I got an email from them and saying, "Hey, let's talk, let's discuss and see how we can bring this back." And that was way back in 2010, and we planned it out for a few months, and then we started working. Here it is.
Just to add a little bit to that, we were still working on Cthulhu Saves the World at the time, and the email was, did you mention who it was from?
Yeah, it was from Robert Koo from Penny-Arcade. Yeah, he's pretty much the top guy there as far as business and what they do there. So yeah, I was very surprised and excited to get an email from him, and yeah, we started planning it out before our last game was even finished, and then once that was done, then we started to work on actually making this game, and yeah, it's almost done now, and we're really excited that people have a chance to try out the demo, and in a few months we'll be able to buy and play the whole thing.
Now, before working on this project, you had produced the two very hilarious RPGs, Breath of Death 7 and Cthulhu Saves the World, as you mentioned. What are you bringing from those games into Precipice of Darkness?
Well, obviously, humor's a big part of Penny-Arcade, and humor's a big part of our company, our past couple of games. And Penny-Arcade would probably agree with this, but our styles of humor kind of match up pretty well, and I think it works well for our fans and for their fans as well. So between the writing, which is probably one of the strongest aspects of the previous Rain-Slick games, there's also a good meshing of style, I think. RPG is a good genre to tell the story that Jerry has come up with, and as far as my role, it's actually been really interesting turning the Penny-Arcade characters into sprites, and the locales and the Rain-Slick mythos into retro-style Final Fantasy-looking sprites and tiles and dungeons.
Like you said, our past games have all been comedies, and this one is as well. It's been great working with Jerry Holkins from Penny-Arcade. He has a very distinct style, and I haven't even been trying to match it up so much as just come up with as many good jokes as I can, and then he kind of modifies it to make it look like what you would expect Gabe and Tycho and other Penny-Arcade characters to actually say. As far as the engine, it's definitely building upon our previous games. We took our Cthulhu Saves the World engine, which was already a modified version of the Breath of Death engine, and we've just been adding stuff to it and improving different features. The gameplay also takes a few cues from our past games. For example, like in our past games, the enemies continually get stronger as the battle goes on to prevent people from just spamming the same attacks or same heal spells every turn. We really want to give the battles a sense of urgency, like you have to beat this boss quickly, otherwise you're kind of doomed.
Yeah, I remember that from Cthulhu Saves the World. It's intense. Now, will we see any particular cameos from those two previous games in Precipice of Darkness 3?
There's not a direct cameo because this is the Rain-Slick world, but since I built the dungeons, you'll definitely see a few little things in the background that are kind of reference our previous games. I think it's fun to put that stuff in there, especially if they're fans of Cthulhu or Breath of Death. So if you're observant, you'll see something then that refers to those games.
Now, the game is being prepped for release on multiple platforms, one of which is Xbox Live Indie Games, where your other two games originated. How's that market worked out for you as an independent developer, and what would you tell newer developers who are trying to get into that same marketplace?
Yeah, the marketplace is a really good place, I think, to start out, because there's a very low barrier of entry. You don't have to buy a big expensive development kit or pay a lot of licensing fees. You just sign up with Microsoft, and they have an annual fee of like $100 or so it's not too much for a new developer to get started. As far as sales go, it's not necessarily as strong as some of the other marketplaces. Right now we're mostly using it just because our engine's already designed to make it easy to port to that platform. And I mean, we've gotten lots of questions as to why we haven't switched over to Xbox Live Arcade. One of the big reasons for that is because indie games allow us to have a much lower price tag, and we really want to keep the price low so that as many people can enjoy our games as possible, and indie games lets us do that. We also hope that with something a little more high profile like a Penny-Arcade game, that it will help to bring attention to the service and help elevate the service as a whole, bringing new people to purchase indie games and enjoy them.
Now, because you're just a two-man development team, I'm sure it's been pretty much crunched for a while. So, what do you do to keep your wits about you and to calm yourself down during the harder parts of development?
I guess for me, I did this originally way back when as a hobby, and so this was kind of my way of winding down from my former jobs. So for me, it does become a crunch, and there are times when it's frustrating. But I guess the way to keep going, keep your momentum up during that sort of crunch time, is to just make sure you have a couple of different tasks that you can switch between. So if I get just bogged down building this one dungeon, I'll go and start animating enemies for a little while, and that shakes things up. Or I'll draw some character portraits and then go back to something else. I mean, other than that, you try to get in a little time playing some games or reading a book or watching a movie, every now and then, just so you can get back to it with like a fresh mind and some more energy. So, but no, it's exciting, and crunch time is rough, but it's still fun seeing it come together. So that's motivating.
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, like last week, this past week I was really stressed. So one night I just took a break and played a lot of Pac-Man Championship Edition, and actually beat a lot of my scores. I was really surprised. I was able to take all that nervous energy and anxiety and just turn it into crazy skills. So, but yeah, like you said, it's really exciting when a game's getting really close to done. You kind of want to crunch just because you're so close to the finish line, and it's really exciting to see the last few things where the game actually stops looking like a bunch of separate pieces and actually turns into a game.
Now, when is this game going to be? I know it's close to finish, but when can we expect it to start emerging on multiple platforms?
Yeah, we're hoping to get it done in the next couple months or so. So we're looking at maybe a summer release time. We don't have a specific date yet, though. It'll come out when it's done.
And as a final question, now, without spoiling anything, what would you say is your favorite monster so far in this game, or maybe, if you can't say, any other RPG that you've played?
Okay, well, my favorite monster from Rain-Slick, and you can see it in the demo, is called Dude on a Walrus. It's big dude with a top hat. He rides around a giant walrus, and he's eating ice cream. So, I mean, that fits perfectly in the Rain-Slick mythos, so that's my favorite.
I'm going to have to go with Dude on a Walrus. I mean, he's a really funny character, and I mean, I like our whole bestiary as it is. I think lots of them are really funny, but I think that one's just comes out of nowhere for you, and you're like, whoa, Dude on a Walrus.
Yeah, I mean, and if those, that's just the beginning of the game. I can't wait to see what's going to come up later. And I hope you don't wait either, or you'll have to wait. So take the time and space continuum and get there faster than I can. The Rain-Slick Precipice of Darkness at 3 emerges soon.